Chapter 373 Misfortune does not come singly. In the quarantine zone set up for the plague, rows of beds were arranged under white tents. The beds were filled with patients covered with blisters on their arms and faces. Dark specks were visible on their extremely dry skin, but regardless of how much water they drank, it did not provide relief to the pain they were experiencing. Instead, more unknown liquid burst out from the blisters. The cries of agony rose one after another in the area. They consisted of the elderly, adults, and kids. The adults were immersed in fear of the unknown plague. They glanced at the healers walking past them, hoping they would be treated. Unfortunately, even the experts were totally clueless about how they could help them. Meanwhile, the innocent kids were enjoying themselves playing chase between the beds. They clearly had no idea what was awaiting them. The meeting. Outside of the quarantine zone, several respectful people in the medical field were seated in a temporary meeting room made from tents. Instead of discussing how they could help the patients, they were actually counting down the time left for the infected people. They had never felt so helpless before. "Mr. Liu, we only have 3 days left," said a middle-aged man wearing a white coat. "The first batch of patients will end up just like the corpses we saw before. The total number is..." Mr. Liu raised his hand, signaling him not to say any more. He knew better than anyone else the total of people who were infected the earliest. That alone was not the reason why he was feeling extremely uneasy. The main reason why it all felt like the apocalypse to him was that the number of patients in the second batch and third batch was still multiplying exponentially. The total had gone over the limit they could estimate, as the people were scattered across all corners of Hangzhou City. "Mr. Liu, if we could find the source of the plague, we would be able to develop the serum to cure it. Everyone knows the gigantic snake is responsible for it. Why aren't we hunting it down yet?" asked the man in the white coat. As soon as he finished the sentence, the head of the magic court, Tang Zhang, entered the tent. Mr. Liu cast a glance at him without saying anything. Mr. Liu was well aware that the snake was not a demon beast. It was the guardian of their city. Tang Zhang was followed by Councilman Zhu Meng. His expression was a lot more dignified than before, but his gaze was filled with a hint of fury, a clear indication that he had just argued with the head of the magic court. "Tang Zhang, are you seriously going to wait until the whole of Hangzhou is piled up with corpses?" Zhu Meng slightly lowered his stance. "If you continue to do nothing, your wish will be fulfilled very soon. When that happens, you will be condemned by every person in Hangzhou. I don't care about my threat eliminating strategy. I'm not ordering you as a councilman. I'm just trying to save the people affected by the plague." Tang Zhang did not seem relaxed at all. He desperately wanted to resolve the matter. His determination was swaying, too. New arrivals and shocking news. Zhu Meng was about to say something when a royal guard quickly approached him and whispered in his ear. His expression immediately changed as he blurted out in excitement, "Did you bring back the totem orb?" The royal guard responded in a soft tone, "We've let you down. Please punish us." Councilman Zhu Meng almost lost his temper. They had sent out many interns, and yet they still failed to catch the two magicians. "A bunch of idiots." The royal guard, Li Jin, lowered his head further and added when Zhu Meng slightly calmed his anger, "We've brought Tong Yue and Mo Fan back, awaiting your order. Bring them here, now." A moment later, Tong Yue and Mo Fan, who had surrendered themselves, were brought to the quarantine zone. They were both dumbfounded, as they never thought the plague would become so serious in just the past few days. As they were brought to Zhu Meng, the councilman glared at the two with a shuddering jaw. He said with a grim laugh, "How nice of you two. If it were possible, I would execute you right on the spot. Should I bring you two on a tour around the area, so you can understand how much of a mistake you've made after witnessing how this whole place has turned into hell?" Mo Fan remained silent. Tong Yue bit her lips. Everything had happened too quickly, and the plague had worsened faster than she could imagine. The whole city had fallen to the plague after they left with the skyscraping snake, with everyone's life at stake. No one had seen a plague that could spread so rapidly, turning a peaceful, modernized city into a terrifying place full of sickness. She reached out her hand and handed a huge jar of the skyscraping snake's blood to Councilman Zhu Meng. "This is the god's blood. If he's the origin of the plague, the blood should be useful to us." Zhu Meng signaled at Mr. Liu, who quickly received the blood and went to the lab with his team. They only had 3 days left to develop a serum. "Guards, lock them up," ordered Zhu Meng. Li Jin immediately took them away. As soon as they left, a man wearing the outfit of a commander quickly came into the room. He saluted at Councilman Zhu Meng before whispering a piece of news into his ear. "What did you just say?" Councilman Zhu Meng stared at him. The crowd immediately shifted their attention toward Zhu Meng when they saw his abnormal reaction. They could not imagine what news it would be to bring such a great shock to him. "We've just received the news from the fortress," said the commander. "The situation is extremely critical. Councilman, please hold a meeting to assist us with the ambush." "All right," Zhu Meng nodded in disbelief. "I'll send the order at once." When Wu Pingjing, the head of the royal guards, saw Zhu Meng's reaction, he asked, "Councilman, what's going on?" "Misfortune does not come singly, for fuck's sake." Councilman Zhu Meng let out a sigh. He did not even have time to tidy his beard, disheveled from the wind. The commander realized that everyone in the room was considered authority figures, so he quickly announced the shocking news. "The fortress close to West Ridge, to the west of Hangzhou City, has just told us that a huge group of white magic falcons has appeared. They were hungry, berserk, and fearless. No matter how we've attacked them with magic, they show no intention of retreating, and we're flying straight toward the city." Tang Zong's face filled with astonishment. From what he knew, a huge pack of white magic falcons was residing in West Ridge. However, they had always stayed within their territory, compared to the other demon beasts. Tang Zhong could not understand why the pack of white magic falcons would ambush Hangzhou all of a sudden. It was fairly rare for the demon beasts to launch an attack at a city, especially when Hangzhou City was heavily guarded. "We've got a big problem," said Councilman Zhu Meng. Tang Zhong nodded with a frown. The entire city was immersed in terror from the plague. The ambush from the demon beasts would only make the situation worse. Chapter 374 The Betrayal of the Heavenly Eagles. To the west of White Mountain lay the West Ridge. The place fully retained its original appearance, with towering mountains and old trees. For a very long time, the West Ridge was strictly a no-fly zone. Even airlines were told to avoid flying over the region, as it was inhabited by lots of white magic falcons. The white magic falcons were extremely violent, with a strong sense of territory, to an extent that they would attack any commander-level or even ruler-level demon beast flying over their territory relentlessly. Even a harmless sparrow that lost its way would be considered hostile. They were fierce, but had great unity. They were the biggest threat to the west of Hangzhou City. However, despite being fairly close to humans' territory, they had never shown any intentions of infiltrating the safe zone, as if they were content with the current situation as long as their territory remained unharmed. As the years passed, the West Fortress slowly let their guard down toward the white magic falcons. They almost assumed they were behaving themselves. To their surprise, the white magic falcons launched an attack while the city was suffering from an outbreak. The fortress stand. The battle mages grouped up in their platoons at the fortress. They were standing on top of temporary platforms while staring at the demon beasts flying in their direction with numbers as dense as the clouds. As a matter of fact, it had been many years since they last saw such an incredible number of demon beasts attacking human territory. "Come, time to clear some pests," a commander who looked fairly young waved his hand, signaling his men to mount their heavenly eagles. The white magic falcons were not very powerful, but the biggest problem was their flying ability. The magicians on the ground could not reach them with their attacks. Flying demon beasts were usually the most difficult to deal with. Luckily, West Fortress was usually stationed with elite battle mages, with a bunch of heavenly eagles on standby. The battle mages were able to ride the heavenly eagles to stop the invasion of the white magic falcons. "It's been a while since we last enjoyed ourselves a great battle," the vice commander licked his lips, as if he had a great lust for blood. "Soldiers, move out," the commander gave the order. The battle mages quickly mounted the heavenly eagles and gave the beasts the order to move out. However, an unexpected event took place. The heavenly eagles remained stationary. None of them were flapping their wings. Normally, once the order was given, the heavenly eagles would soar into the sky straight away. They had been tamed by the beastmasters for a very long time. Apart from head-on battles, they had always obeyed the orders from the beastmasters. "Summon the beastmasters at once. I want to know what's wrong with these heavenly eagles," snapped the commander. The soldiers were ready to charge into the battlefield and eliminate the demon beasts that dared to infiltrate Hangzhou, yet the heavenly eagles stood firmly in their spots, as if they had all reached an agreement. "Commander, you're looking for me." A beastmaster in uniform appeared. "Take a look at these heavenly eagles. Why aren't they obeying our orders?" said the commander. The beastmaster went up to one of the heavenly eagles and placed his hand on its body. He closed his eyes as he tried to sense the feeling that the beast was experiencing. A moment later, the beastmaster's eyes sprang open and glanced toward the flying figures in the distance. He blurted out, "They are afraid." "Afraid of what?" scolded the commander. "The heavenly eagles and the white magic falcons belong to the same race," said the beastmaster. "Even though they are tamed by us, they still have the blood of demon beasts flowing inside their bodies. They are unwilling to oppose the white magic falcons." "Damn it, useless idiots," scolded the commander. "No matter how long we've tamed them, they can't disobey the law of nature." Besides, the beastmaster went up to a heavenly eagle which seemed to be struggling and placed his hand on its neck. The beastmaster's face turned pale. His eyes were staring at the army of the white magic falcons in disbelief, as if he had sensed the great terror in the heavenly eagle's heart. "Besides what? Say it now," said the commander impatiently. "Without the help of the heavenly eagles, how many battle mages actually had the ability to fly?" This was a very serious problem. Once a commander level 4 clawed magic eagle appeared, our troops will lose fighting against the demon beasts in the air, said the beastmaster. The heavenly eagles will not dare to go against a 4-clawed magic eagle. I'm well aware of that. If our air defense collapses, the demon beasts can easily fly past us into the city, said the commander. The beastmaster's eyes were still full of terror. He shook his head and glanced at the heavenly eagle beside him. The gaze of the heavenly eagle turned from submissive to rage. Its black pupils had turned crimson red. It flapped its wings wildly, not to fly into the sky to war, but trying to fling the person on its back down. Suddenly, every heavenly eagle began to scream. Their eyes were staring at the intruders in the distance, as if they were responding to a call. What's going on? I'm losing control of my heavenly eagle. So am I? The beasts struggled wildly and twisted their bodies. If it weren't for the chains tying their legs down, they would have already flown into the air. They are turning, they are betraying us, yelled a rather experienced soldier. What? The young commander quickly glanced at the heavenly eagles and saw their pupils changing color. They were resisting violently, some even attacking the soldiers. This is bad. The beastmaster had totally lost control of the situation. What exactly is going on? Yelled the young commander. The heavenly eagles had always been submissive. Why would they start a rebellion today? Didn't I mention that if there was a commander level 4-clawed magic eagle nearby, these heavenly eagles subconsciously fear the demon beast, as they possess a lower lineage, shouted the beastmaster, his face pale. However, if a ruler-level demon beast of the eagle species were to appear, they would betray us straight away due to its overwhelming presence. Ruler level. The young commander totally lost his calm when he heard the term. It was the first time a demon beast of that level was involved in an invasion. Quick! Kill the heavenly eagles now. Otherwise, they will betray us, blurted out the beastmaster. These beasts with petty lineage will never be able to resist the presence of a ruler-level demon beast. The soldiers were stunned. They never thought a ruler-level demon beast would be so terrifying. Even the heavenly eagles, who were tamed and trained like soldiers since they were young, stood no chance against the presence of a ruler-level demon beast. What are you all waiting for? Do you want to see the fortress destroyed? Kill the traitorous heavenly eagles now, the beastmaster roared furiously when he saw the hesitation among the soldiers. The young commander clenched his teeth and made the cruel decision. Kill them all now. Chapter 375 Summoned back to West Lake. A 17-year-old teenager sat at the edge of the 9th lookout tower of West Fortress. He was carefully blowing a flute. The melody was utterly pleasant. It had a unique, countryside rhythm. As the melody played, a gray-white heavenly eagle in its growing stage flew out from the trees and landed beside the teenager. The teenager fondled the gray-white heavenly eagle's head and said with a smile, "Gray, were you secretly hunting down hares? Is it because the food here at the fortress doesn't suit your taste? Or has that prick beastmaster been torturing you again? All right, I know that he's picking on you because he's not fond of your impure lineage. I'll make you something delicious when I have the chance." The heavenly eagle nodded as if it could understand the teenage boy's words. The boy and the eagle played on the lookout tower for a while. Suddenly, a sharp siren was heard coming from the fortress. It immediately burst into an uproar as troops of battle mages were summoned to the front line. The cruel order. What's going on? The teenage boy yelled at a messenger soldier passing by the lookout tower. Wang Xiaojun, what are you doing up there? Hurry up and hide inside the fortress. A small guy like you will be eaten by the white magic falcons fairly quickly, said the messenger. It's all right, I have Gray protecting me, said Wang Xiaojun. Meanwhile, a tall, skinny bloke whose face was full of pockmarks appeared. He raised his head to look at the teenager and demanded, "Protect you? We've just received the order from our superiors. All soldiers must kill the heavenly eagles they are looking after at once." What are you saying? Why would the army give such a command? Exclaimed Wang Xiaojun in disbelief. A ruler-level demon beast has appeared from West Ridge. Every heavenly eagle of the fortress is turning against us. What are you waiting for? Didn't I tell you to kill your heavenly eagle now? Those who disobey the order will be punished by military law. Wang Xiaojun was stunned. He glanced at Gray, who was still not mature yet. How could he possibly kill him with his own hands? The gray eagle was the only present left him by his elder brother, who had sacrificed his life for the army. He had been taking care of the bird since he was a youngling. The gray eagle was his most important friend and companion. Humph, a heavenly eagle like that with impure lineage should never have been allowed to stay in the army, said the beastmaster with pockmarks. No. Wang Xiaojun suddenly bit his lips, looking at the heavenly eagle, and blew his flute. The eagle obeyed the signal like a soldier as soon as the piercing sound was made. Following another signal from the flute, the eagle flapped its wings and rapidly soared into the sky. Even though it was not mature, and its wings were still not fully grown yet, its speed was comparable to the ordinary heavenly eagles. A brief moment later, the gray figure quickly disappeared into the trees. The beastmaster with pockmarks was infuriated. He pointed his finger at Wang Xiaojun and snapped, "You little bastard, you dared to disobey a military order. You're not worthy to stay in the army, just like that crossbreed heavenly eagle. Do you have any idea what you've done? The beast will turn against us. It will attack the fortress with the white magic falcons." The teenager Wang Xiaojun lowered his head and fell silent. He could not understand why the army would make such a cruel decision. He was clueless about why it was given in the first place. However, he and Gray had kept one another company for a very long time. He was willing to take the punishment instead of doing such a cruel thing to his companion. As the beastmaster left furiously, Wang Xiaojun finally raised his head and saw piles of white feathers drifting to the wind in the fortress. At the taming ground nearby, piles of heavenly eagles were lying in pools of blood. They were struggling in pain. They were begging for mercy in the pools of blood as they uttered cries of agony. The sound of their cries penetrated the teenage boy's heart like swords. Each of the heavenly eagles was part of his eldest brother's painstaking efforts, and they were falling right in front of him. The worst thing was, instead of being killed in battle, they had fallen at the hands of their beloved beastmasters. The teenage boy did not want to watch any further. He quickly closed his eyes. There were no tears, yet his heart was bleeding. A desperate plea. In the enforcement union's meeting room, as soon as the news from West Fortress was announced, the head of the magic court, the councilman, and the rest fell deadly silent. No one expected the situation to turn so serious quickly, be it the plague that had taken them by surprise, or the army of white magic falcons ambushing Hangzhou for no particular reason. The white magic falcons are definitely something that the military would not want to face, said an elder of the magic court, Li Tian. Not only has our line of defense collapsed, the heavenly eagles have also turned into a threat. Luckily, the head of the beastmasters told his men to kill all of them decisively. Otherwise, the situation would be much worse. We're having internal trouble and outside aggression at the same time. Has Mr. Liu managed to develop the serum for the plague? Asked Zhu Meng. We do have the serum, but the blood of the black totem snake is only enough to resist the plague. It's nowhere enough to cure the patients. We need the black totem snake's bile or something else, answered Mr. Liu. Tang Zhang frowned and glanced at Tong Yue, who was being guarded by 2 royal guards. Head to White Mountain at once, and take some bile from the god. Councilman Zhu Meng quickly rose to his feet and said, if we could invent a resisting serum from his blood, he must be responsible for the plague. Do you have any idea how serious the situation is? How much time do you still want to waste on following your ancient tradition? Your stupidity is going to get lots of people killed. Tang Zhang fell silent. Zhu Meng walked out from his seat and came up to Tong Yue with great fury. Tang Zhang quickly rose to his feet. He thought Councilman Zhu Meng was going to unleash his anger on Tang Yue. Councilman Zhu Meng stood there staring at Tang Yue. A while later, he suddenly lowered his head, as if he had instantly sacked his imposing dignity. He totally lowered his stance, as if he were pleading. I can totally understand where you all are coming from, but Hangzhou is currently in a great crisis. Councilman Zhu Meng's eyes were bloodshot. It was obvious that he had not slept in many days. The ambush of the white magic falcons is going to be a fierce battle. If we don't get rid of the plague within a day, Hangzhou would be piled with corpses soon enough. Therefore, Councilman Zhu Meng lowered his head further, almost as if he had bent his body 90 degrees at Tang Yue. I beg you, summon the black totem snake back. I promise you, if we manage to find a cure, we will not kill him. Tang Yue took a few steps backward, staring at Councilman Zhu Meng in disbelief. As she gathered her thoughts, she looked at Tang Zhang. Tang Zhang nodded helplessly. He too was extremely concerned for Hangzhou. He had no intention to be the sinner responsible for the countless lives who were endangered. Since Zhu Meng was willing to compromise by sparing the black totem snake's life, he would not hesitate any further. All right, I'll summon him back now. I'll summon him back to West Lake, said Tang Yue. Chapter 376, Killing the Snake. Tang Yue and Mo Fan were brought back to the fortress. The royal guards escorted the two to a temporary room at the side of the fortress. It was currently used as an isolation ward for the heavily infected. The room smelled strongly of a disinfectant mixed with the sour stench of pus and blood. Mo Fan felt utterly uncomfortable. He noticed a few patients lying on the beds. They were so frail that their limbs were no different from a withered tree branch. The patients covered their faces in agony, as if they were suffering a terrible pain. If the serum is successfully developed, we might be able to save these people, Tang Yue whispered, her face pale. Mo Fan nodded. Even though he found the room extremely disgusting, the fact that he was helping to save lives somehow made him feel better. Tang Yue, do you really trust Councilman Zhu Meng? Mo Fan was still worried that the councilman would go back on his word. He is the councilman of Hangzhou. He would never turn his back on his promises, especially when it involves the lives of the whole city. If he dares to do so, he will be condemned by the public, Tang Yue replied. Mo Fan did not say anything further. They walked out of the quarantine zone, heading for the West Lake. Mo Fan and Tang Yue stood on the bank of the West Lake. Tang Yue took out the totem orb from her spatial ring, with a hint of sorrow in her eyes. She was the one who had taken the black totem snake away, and she was the one who was bringing him back. She felt extremely bad for the creature. I hope the head of the magic court, Tang Zhang, can stall for some time. We'll only take a little bit of bile, and hope it's enough to save the people, Tang Yue said. I hope so, Mo Fan replied. Tang Yue clenched her teeth and released the black totem snake. An astonishing mist burst out of the totem orb. In the blink of an eye, the black totem snake was back at the West Lake, as majestic as before. His body was towering on the land, as if he were a giant mountain range guarding the city. The majestic figure of the black totem snake soon drew the attention of many magicians. All of them stopped their work and stared at the godly creature. The god is back. Look, the black totem snake is back. He's back to save us. A loud cheer came from the citizens. It was clearly the first time they had seen the black totem snake. To them, he was the giant god of the city. He had returned to save them from the plague. The black totem snake lowered his head, sensing the terrible stench of death and illness in the city. He looked at Tang Yue, as if he was asking her what had happened. Tang Yue pointed at the west of the city and said, "The people are in trouble. We need your help, great god." The black totem snake hissed, as if he was acknowledging the situation. His giant eyes were staring at West Ridge, seemingly sensing a great threat. The black totem snake did not move. He seemed to be preparing himself for the fierce battle. The councilman, he promised not to hurt you, but we need some of your bile, Tang Yue said in a soft tone. The black totem snake paused, then slowly nodded. He opened his mouth and spat out a stream of clear, green liquid. The liquid was crystal clear, looking no different from melted jade. It slowly gathered into a stream before flowing to the shore. Tang Yue collected the liquid in a porcelain bottle. She quickly gave it to a royal guard who had been waiting for them nearby. The royal guard immediately brought the bottle of bile back to the laboratory. The betrayal. Tang Yue and Mo Fan felt relieved. The black totem snake's timely return had bought them some time. Suddenly, a voice appeared. we've caught the black totem snake red-handed." The voice was loud, as if it was intentionally directed at the public. Wu Pingjing, the head of the royal guards, was standing on a rooftop nearby, pointing at the black totem snake. Wu Pingjing was wearing a thick armor. He had gathered lots of battle mages on the roof, equipped with wind equipment. They quickly soared into the sky and formed an encirclement of the black totem snake. Tang Yue was stunned. "What are you doing, Wu Pingjing? Didn't the councilman promise not to hurt him?" "Hurt him?" Wu Pingjing laughed grimly. "He's the source of the plague. We're here to kill him. You're going back on your word." Tang Yue was infuriated. "HMPH. Our lives are more important than a mere promise. The whole city is depending on us. If we don't get rid of this evil snake now, the people will keep catching the plague." Wu Pingjing said without hesitation. "But the councilman promised us." Tang Yue said with a trembling voice. "The councilman has left the matter to the head of the magic court, Tang Zhang, and I," Wu Pingjing said. "The decision is final. We're killing the snake to save the people." Mo Fan saw a few magicians in the air aiming their intermediate spells at the black totem snake. He quickly ran to Tang Yue and shielded her. "Get to the head of the magic court. They will not dare to do anything to you if you're close to him. The black totem snake is in danger," Tang Yue said, on the verge of crying. "It's too late. The black totem snake is a ruler-level creature. He'll be fine. Let's not get involved." Mo Fan dragged Tang Yue away from the scene. Wu Pingjing quickly shouted, "Mo Fan, Tang Yue, you're interfering with the operation. I'll charge you with treason if you don't stand down." Mo Fan ignored his threats. Tang Yue, with a pale face, finally made up her mind and ran toward the fortress. The ruler-level battle. The black totem snake was extremely furious when he saw the magicians attacking him. He was willing to sacrifice a part of himself for the sake of the people, but the humans had betrayed him. The black totem snake let out a thunderous hiss. A gust of wind suddenly appeared in the air, creating a turbulent vortex. The magicians who were flying at him were immediately knocked off balance. Intermediate magics were cast from the air and slammed into the black totem snake's body, only leaving a small scratch on his scales. The black totem snake immediately retaliated. He raised his head and spat out a massive blue-black mist toward the magicians. The mist instantly spread to the magicians' area. They were surrounded by the toxic cloud. They quickly activated their defensive magic equipment, but the mist was able to penetrate the defense. The magicians were crying out in agony. They were falling from the sky like withered leaves, landing heavily on the ground. The battle had only begun, and the royal guards were already suffering a great loss. Wu Pingjing's face turned grim. He knew that the black totem snake was not to be taken lightly. "Don't retreat. He's just a snake. He's afraid of fire. Use the fire element magic." Wu Pingjing roared. The fire magicians quickly gathered their energy. They cast their intermediate fire magics at the black totem snake. Mo Fan, who was observing the fight from a distance, saw the fire from the fire element spells enveloping the black totem snake. The terrifying snake was soon covered in a blazing flame. "They're trying to burn him alive," Mo Fan muttered. The terrifying fire could easily melt a commander-level creature. The black totem snake was a ruler-level creature, but he would also be hurt by the scorching flames. The black totem snake was in great pain. He coiled his body around the West Lake, splashing the water around with his immense strength. "Attack! Don't let him escape!" Wu Pingjing roared. The magicians were cheering. They saw the black totem snake suffering under the scorching flame, believing that they could win the battle. But they were wrong. The black totem snake suddenly rose from the lake. His body was covered in water, which immediately extinguished the flames. He lowered his head and stared at the magicians with his giant crimson eyes. The magicians felt a great chill down their spines. They knew they had crossed the line. The black totem snake was enraged.